Hey, oh shoot, I have to change the speaker. Okay.
Wait, I'm just putting some things. You know, you go to the left, I guess.
By the way, it's already recording as usual, and I
Okay.
guess we start with the public chat. Or should do we? Do you have something to talk with, like, off the record?
Don't know. We can just talk and we'll see. But I think planning doesn't really work,
True,
right?
except the time frame.
Uh,
That's
except what?
the time frame.
The time
Like,
frame.
yeah. Well, for the chat we keep it open, but usually like for the practice we just set the time and we don't talk about what to do, right?
Yeah. Indeed. Text concept and better. Yes. I was checking the wait. Today's 19.
19th, yeah.
I was checking. I start putting something in the text of what that you sent me a link of Danielle's text
Yeah.
of Danielle thing. I don't know. And then is the first paragraph is Danielle's text?
No, I wrote everything, but I mean the paragraph. I mean the one that indented is his proposal, let's say, and then I wrote some
Yeah.
stuff. But yeah,
Yeah.
but I felt like it's been some time and I didn't really make any progress, and I was like not sure, so I just sent it to you so that we can continue.
I like it. I like it because I mean what I liked from the was the shape part, like the shape and yeah, the form and shape. That was nice. I mean
Thanks.
that I just read and then I just put something because it's in my
I didn't check because this is something I usually do or not to do. That if someone comments or if someone replies, I'm sometimes so afraid, and I just leave it there for some time without looking at it because I'm just so afraid.
you mean in the dog?
Doc, or like if I write to someone and if something important and they somehow reply to me, for example, and then I'm or something like really bureaucratic, like yeah, like if I get someone asking me for a document or something that I can expect, I usually leave that unopened for some time. Well,
Yeah.
not leave it for a week because that's how that's not how it works, but at least for hour or a day, because I get so, how to say, like it become really busy with that.
I see.
But anyways, but thanks for that. I think I also wait for Daniel, like if he has any point or if he suggests to do something, because he's the one who's asking. Yeah.
Yeah. So but the idea is to like collect some thoughts around that subject and then the idea is that they want to put it together in Culture Hub somewhere or
I think so.
what is the idea?
Yeah, I
Okay.
think that's the idea.
Yeah, I see. I see.
So
Um,
so are we starting with the backstage? I don't know.
no, but I mean, this is also like I don't think it's this backstage.
Right.
Pardon. I think this can be. We're not. This is not a secret of nobody.
True. Yeah, also like this is something I was a bit like thinking, like like how we wrote with Joanna was more like how do you say, like we kept it quite fluid, which was nice. But then Daniel asked me, well, so yeah, first he asked me if I can contribute something for the writing, but then it became really, how do I say, it just feels different. It's just
But it's
the
different.
process
I
of,
mean, the exercise is different. I mean, but in a
yeah,
way, would
but how
yeah.
we
Sorry,
work.
say what you were
Yeah,
saying.
yeah, yeah. Just about the how we work, because I was supposed to give him something, but then like like what it's also about the practice that I'm not really good at like finishing some writing, and it's better if I just do something quick. It's not perfect,
Right.
and then just send it to someone, or start a discussion to happen, because that's so much easier for me than
Yeah,
finishing something by myself. And that's why like I left it in my Google Docs for some time, and then I felt so bad about it. So
I see.
I mean, he also said, there's no strict deadline, but that's also not helpful for me, because
Yeah,
then
that's
I
not
won't I
helpful.
won't really
Oh
work on
yeah,
it.
I think that's the opposite, because then is the, yeah, that's not helpful. Yeah, I see.
Yeah. So at least, I just
Yeah.
threw the
Hey, what about this thing of like new now? What, that was so funny. Like, so then did you check today? Is it still not working, the form?
oh no, it was working. It's just like before, because I checked it before, of course, to check what the criteria, or what the
Yeah.
I have to fill. And that time, like, everything was there, like visible, like in the form. But then
Mm-hmm.
when I revisited, they changed it, and it's just like your name, and then if you agree to the privacy, whatever, data privacy stuff,
Yeah.
and that's it. And I was so confused. Um, but if you press click on that option that you agree to disclose the data or whatever, then they will show the rest of the questions. And also they changed it so that it kind of
Ah, okay.
branches, like if you apply for the exhibition, or if you apply for the conference, or both, then they give you different options. So I was like,
I see.
I was confused.
Yeah,
And
I see.
then also, like, before, I noticed that they forgot to add biography, to put the biography in, which was really weird. But they fixed it too. But we have
Okay.
already some writing about that, so I just
Yeah.
copy pasted from other application. But that was a bit weird. And also, like, I felt like, because exhibition, they say it's exhibition, but they say also like this category for live streaming. So I thought, yeah, we could
Yeah.
also do it, but then you have to put like like separate proposal for that
Yeah.
besides the conference. And I was like,
Actually,
okay, no, it's too much.
no, and also because I mean, for instance, since there is no clarity, and it seems to me that let's say economically wise, there is no clarity. So then, since we are busy as well with other things, and I think the easy format is, because yeah, the easy format as you propose it, I think is that just we propose the chat inside of the conference, and anyway we're gonna do a practice,
Yeah,
but we don't present it as the focus of the, yeah, the application,
yeah,
which is, yeah, this is, I mean, we could have done both, because basically we're gonna do the practice, right, and then
yeah,
the chat, because that's what we do. But I think in a way, like, to be honest, I feel there is less pressure in talking than in doing. If I don't, that's how I feel without thinking too much just right now.
yeah, yeah. I mean, if we do the practice to present, then that's different. Like, that's
Yeah.
just different. And also, like,
Okay.
yeah, it's
It's
just
different.
it's I wouldn't say it's good or bad. I mean, I enjoy it sometimes, but it just, you
No,
need
but
to
I think
prepare.
also, I think like, yeah, no, but also I think is it's a different exercise, because it's like I take it very close to what if I'm performing or if I'm dancing in a space, because it just takes, it's not the, it's not it's not about liking it or not. So I think it's more because I like it very much. So it just demands so much of my energy, right?
Yeah,
Then and then, so if you put what as part of like the elements of pressure in a way, then if there is, if there's people seeing, or there is certain audience that are gonna see it, so that puts something in top. Then if you think in the chat like that somebody's listening, let's say, to what we're speaking right now, it wouldn't change that much things for me. I mean, I guess of course
no,
there is somebody else, but I don't have to do this what is the word that we use, this instead, the,
hmm?
like this self distanciation, or like
Ah, yeah,
that
yeah,
that Like I don't have to do that exercise that I think I have to do in the practice, because right now I'm just me with all my identities here with you. In the practice, I'm completely fluid with this thing.
Yeah,
And so in the chat, I won't suffering. I mean, although there is somebody, and of course, an external person will put some sort of pressure, is way, and energy wise is way easier for me to go with the chat
yeah,
than with the practice.
yeah, totally. Yeah, yeah, that's what I feel. Like when I talk, it's easy because I talk and I can say I can show the presence with the talking. But if I do the practice, it's so hard because I think the problem with the practice is that how we do it is not that we just go to this performative state like from the beginning, and people expect that.
No,
But it
no,
happens
no,
at
no,
some
no,
point
no.
in the practice, but it's not.
At some point, happen.
It's a slow thing, and that having people understand that
Yeah,
is really hard, I think.
yeah. And actually, I was thinking that because I was more of my reaction with melting pot, and maybe that could be something to say in the chat. Is like, so because the last week I was working on the art direction of a project of Marco Torrice, call it melting pot, and then so the project indeed is trying to not propose representation in a way. So in that sense is similar to this idea of dance to or post dance or dance 2.0, like trying to not deal with identities or with or like with the political state, let's say, on representation, and then just more like dance as form. um, and but then of course if you put in the place, then you put people they are different because by the base the project has different bodies, like there's somebody from Brazil who's coming like from Brazil, there's somebody from Hungary, there's some, I mean, different people, and a part of that they have different styles, hip hop, contemporary, like Gaga, like that's part of the project, because the idea that the audience, they mix together, they melt together, that's the whole, that's part of, it's a big part of the project. And but all of this politics, they comes around the project. In the project itself, like the project is very political, like it's very political, it's a recreational space, it's not a performance itself. Marco put it as a recreational space and a pedagogical space, but not as a performance. But so all these political aspects are around the project, but once they go inside, uh, then these things has to pass fluid. It means that I cannot avoid, if I will be dancing, I cannot avoid like charging the space with my Colombianity, my male side, female, whatever is that people want to relate to my body on the space, people who are watching from outside. I cannot avoid to do that. But then it's up to the space and up to the choreographer how to deal with the space in a way that it becomes, that is just the representation is just passing by. It's never staying. It's not hijacking the whole piece. So I'm saying that because you're mentioning that in the practice, what we do at some point we perform. So it happens as well, but it just passed by and in different moments. So it's never staying, like the political part, the representation, like all these agencies, they pass by, but they don't stay. If they stay and they charge the space, then the form, the shape will, I would say more the form. I would like to speak more about the shape, but I would say more like the form as form in itself, it gets charged with the representational things and semiotics and meanings. And so then the freedom that the form has, that is basically as a blob that constantly like change, it just start becoming like a square. If there
Mm.
is too much representation, identity, politics, that it becomes like a square, like very square, and people, and from outside as well, you can start reading what is happening. And I think when that happens, then there is no more activation in the public, in the person who is watching the practice, because in a way it's like you got it, what is happening. So there is no demanding nothing. You don't have to do an active uh, appreciation of what is happening, but it's more like, okay, I understand. I like it or dislike it. And I think that's key in this. I think what we're this thing that we are talking in a way that is representation in dance, in a way of how to not deal with representation, or how to not get stuck in representation, because it passed. You cannot avoid to represent. You cannot avoid to deal with identity and these things. We cannot do that. But then it's more, I think it's important than uh I forgot what was it. I will come on about what was I saying, that I said it was important right before. I don't know what was it. I will see it in the recording, I guess.
Yeah, sure.
What was I saying? Yeah, it doesn't matter.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know how to respond. It's just I just found it interesting that in the seminar that I was joining an hour ago, that was about identity. And yeah, basically the professor, he made a piece back in 2002 in Baghdad, in Iraq. He recorded like young, like normal people. So that's when the war was happening back then. But then, people never talk about who's living there. So that's why like he put a spotlight on the people, like normal people. And it's like homage to Andy Warhol's screen test. Is this called?
Sorry, but what is happening in the piece? Because I think I don't understand what you're saying.
I just continue. So,
Yeah,
do you know this screen test by Andy Warhol?
a screen test.
It's like
Mm.
I don't know, like celebrities or someone like just watching at the camera, or like
Yeah, I think so.
just
Yeah, yeah, I
yeah,
think,
yeah,
yeah, yeah, yeah,
yeah, yeah.
yeah.
So it's like that, but with people
Okay,
in Baghdad, like no,
okay.
like just normal people, like not soldiers or whatever that's represented by the war, but who's actually living there back in early 2000 when the Iraq war was happening.
Yeah,
And that's like how he he pictured the people, and that identity that people carries. And then because he's revisiting his piece, because yeah, this was like a controversy with MoMA when he was about to present 2 years ago. Um, I think they had some issues with what is called MoMA divest. I can send you a link later. I don't really I can't really tell the whole background, but sorry, but I just wanted to talk about his piece because that really was about capturing the identity, and not necessarily like related to what we were just talking about, but it just we were watching his piece. It's like 30 minutes or like 40 minutes, just people sitting in front of the camera. Yeah,
but that was working with identity.
that is, yes.
That is like the purpose is working with identity.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, how as well a conversation with somebody, like, I don't know if I want to mention this because maybe this cannot. No, we can talk of this in another moment. Yeah, so we can just keep on talking on this. Um, yeah. Yeah, wait, so then but I didn't understood the comment. Then somebody, you said like somebody said, I see potential in your thinking and writing, why don't you try to find a larger frame for all the things you have put on paper lately? Is a form question mark is a form of world making thought different from game. It is about new grammars of interactions or new online subjectivities, etc. That might help identify further steps. So when I read it, I got very confused, but then I read it like sometime after, and then I thought like I actually is I see that for me it's like it's all of that, but maybe it's none, and maybe it's more or less.
Yeah.
I don't know
And
because yeah, I don't
yeah,
know. What do you think?
yeah. I mean, so that's another lecturer who was teaching at the school. I just wrote to her, like, because that's actually, that was like when we started to talk about, how to make our chat like somewhat how academic. I mean, not making this academic form, but like what's the possible ways um,
Yeah.
to discover. And
Yeah.
I wrote to her because she's really, um, how do I say, yeah, like, let's say, like, working in more like academic context. And
Yeah.
when I got that comment, I was really confused. But I was also, I mean, I know her, so I expected that it's not going to be, like, super, um, how do I say, like, I knew that she's going to say something more broad and conceptual. Yeah, and I think what she was, I don't know, like, how I take it is, like, I think we can start to find these building blocks. I don't know how to say, like, I don't know. Let me check the
Yeah. I mean, this is just
message again.
this is connected with this conversation that I have with somebody, like with one of the melting pots person, somebody who was from Brazil and have, yeah, a very, like, yeah, it makes me think of something that I didn't thought before. Then maybe I will talk to you like before, after in the backstage. But
Sure.
what I think is relevant to bring here is that, yeah. So one of the things that happens in PAF that people said is as a joke, as an inside joke, is like in PAF, everybody wants to have the reason. Because if let's say if you study philosophy, like if you basically if you have in this academic path, like Western path, that it goes towards knowledge. Knowledge is binary in the sense like, if I'm right, you are not right. And that's what philosophy always has been doing, like it's always like, then there's basically it's critique based on knowledge. You say something, I understand what you said, I said yes, but why you didn't thought on this? And then it goes, and that's dialectics, which in a way is like the search for the absolute truth based on a dialogue. But at the end, the truth is always will be one-sided, cannot be two-sided. Like, although you can agree, if you are in search of that knowledge from that perspective, which is Western, it cannot be absolute. It will be my absolute true, but it cannot be absolute for you. It cannot. It is binary in the nature, in the absolute nature. Otherwise it becomes a doctrine if you accept it. So then you are not a thinker. It makes a difference. If you're a thinker, if you're a real thinker, a philosopher, or like somebody who search for knowledge, an academic, or you have the truth, or is either my truth. We can search for the absolute truth together, but one of both must be right. We both cannot be right. And that's very Western. It's very clear, and that's coming from philosophy.
I see.
So this is one like inside joke that in PAF people says often, is like in PAF people want to be right, because from that point of view, people know so much, and then just you have very nice conversations in different aspects, and then there's this ongoing spirit of like, I know. I want to know. I want to read. Like when I was there, I remember when somebody shared this book about Be My Body for Me. And then the person was saying there are so many books because the guy was pointing to other places. And I remember that I remember that I said to him, because he was saying we were in a reading group with other people. And then he was saying like, Ariana was saying there's so many books to read. And then the other people basically were agreeing like, yeah, there's so little time and there's so much to know. And then I was saying like, maybe not. um and I remember that just when I came back, like maybe some weeks ago, I was already here, so not too long ago. And at some point, because I started getting really into that, Adriana was the one who opened that gate. And then I went crazy, like reading and buying books. I have like 7 books since that moment. I bought them all. And I'm really into that because open a gate and things in my head from the past. So, and then at some point I was really tired at night and working for Melting Pot and things. And then I thought, I just received a book of Derrida, which was the teacher of Malabou, Catherine Malabou. And then I was really into like reading a little bit, but then I thought like my body was just leaving me, I was tired. And then I just thought at that moment, there is so much I would like to know. And that moment, when I thought of that, I really put me back in my body, not in my mind, in my body. I was back in time, and back in time to the moment that I said that to Adriano, because in a way I said that to him when he answered, when he says back in time in PAF, there's so much to read. In a way, how I answered, I think it came just as a critique for he answered in a way from my understanding of what I saw as a Western person searching for knowledge. And my critique in saying like maybe not, it was kind of more coming from this multi-diverse uh, universe, that it comes more for indigenous perspective and things that it comes more in that direction from my ancestry and things that I don't know yet so much, yet they are within me. um, but once I was in Brussels and that moment it happened, then I have to recognize me in that moment, like me as the white person, me as the oppressor, me as oppressing me, and so on. So
I see.
what I'm trying to say is here, because I put it here as a question mark, like, do we want to have the absolute truth? I put it here in my remarks, and I was trying to introduce the question: do we want to have an absolute truth? And I mean, I'm not expecting you to answer it. It's just like I'm putting this out, like from giving that introduction that I said, like, and this is part of the conversation that I told you I have with this Brazilian guy. It's like, then it's do we do I want to have the truth? Am I searching for an absolute truth? Do I want to know? What do I want to know? Like, to be honest, I want to know me, but me, there's so many me's, and there's so many me's. And what I think is beautiful is that in the practice, many of these me's, they become alive, and that's something precious to me.
I see. Yeah, I mean, that question, do you, do we, or do I want to know absolute truth? That's like, yeah, just aligns with basically what you said. Like, it's something that I feel like people here are really obsessed about. No, like it's so like, to me it's surprising that people even ask that question, because what is it really? Like, for me, like, that's just like sounds like just rubbish. Like, what do you mean by truth? For example. um no, but I understand why you ask that question, but still, like, I don't know what is this driving force to get to that question, because like truth can be many things, and like it's not like single thing. Yeah, but I think I'm trying to. I don't know if you have anything to add to that, because I want to like. I had one thing I want to talk about.
No. I think I wanted just to introduce that.
Yeah, because to me, like also like Yomi, the lecturer, she wrote to me about how to write. Like, why did I say? Yeah, because I think so. Going back to her point was, I think because once I presented my work or what my projects in her seminar, it was about like communities and care, and it's just like how I think is so. I mean, how I think is different from everyone, but also like the vocabulary I built within myself. That's really something special, and I think it's good to describe those words we use. For
Yeah.
example, like this was really specific to her comment, but for example, when I was telling about the community thing I was working on. For example, that's how I met you, and also, like I started to do like a lot of meetups on Jitsi or Zoom. Then it started to become like more like a space than like a video call. Like this is not like, I don't see this as a like, we do a call, but it's more like where we come back
This is the chat.
every yeah every day at the same time. um you know but maybe like something like that, and that's like how I see it. But
Okay.
then that's not necessarily people would immediately relate, and that's something that we have to
Yeah.
perhaps be more, yeah, like just to just explain with more
Inclusive.
words.
So then in a way, like they try to wait, because actually, I mean, I partially agree with what you said, but I don't see there is a difference in this and relating to like wait, let me try to put it differently. No, wait, I will put it like with that analogy because it's just the easiest and makes sense. So like I think there is when say that black people, brown people, or people from other backgrounds who are not European, then if you're in a European context, and then you don't know what is happening. Let's say you don't know what is happening yet. You are privileged to, because the space that you live give you the conditions to think what is happening. So because of that, then not only in privileged places, because this is just a phenomenon that is happening in the rest of the world, like no, like depressed in a way that are being more visible than before. Oppression has been existing always, but there are movements like Black Lives Matters and other movements that are just becoming more, this thing that has these asymmetries that exist in the world are now just visible, more visible than before. And then what it happens is that because it's just so complex, there is, let's say, a lot of white folks who are trying to join the conversation, with good spirit, and just like say, oh, okay, yes, yeah, just trying to join the conversation basically towards constructing something better than just oppression. But if the people who are being marginalized, is exactly the same with feminism. If people who are being marginalized for so many years, you carry the traumas in your blood and all these things, and you don't know, and there's so many different between, like, there's so many different ones, different, people. So if these people who are being marginalized for centuries uh, don't know what is happening, and they don't know yet how to relate within each other, because they carry completely really complex histories in their bodies. They don't know how to relate to each other. They don't know how to speak their same language. They don't know how to use a colonized language they're using, how can they invite the white person to join the conversation?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So I'm saying that in analogy to, I think, since what we are talking is like we don't know what we are talking, then at some what we did at some point, we are having these conversations in long ago. We just decide to be fluid in what we do because we just don't know what is it. So and then just on time we start finding our words. At some point the elements as word appear, and then this one, and then this one. But basically is, I was mentioning because I see it as a similar process, in the sense like, if you and me cannot make sense, it's very difficult to invite somebody else to join it, because instead of like giving agency to the process, it might just like destabilize the process. I don't know. um I mean, what I'm saying is like, yes, but no, or no, but yes. Like, it's interesting to do this like academic process that basically we have to do. I mean, that we want to do in order to invite more people to join this pot in a way. But at the same time, then we cannot forget that what we're doing is still very fragile.
Yeah.
And that's why, for instance, when we invite a third person, like for instance, we were really lucky in the way how this process went with Joanna, but it could have been messy and just bring pain and sorrow and scars and things. Um, so yeah, just something to consider. But I think we are. I mean, if I speak personally, I think we are in a process that is mature enough, like to. But that, I think that's to say that we need money to do this in the best possible way, because we need time. First, because what we need is time to, in a way, like make sure that not all that we, as you said, you mentioned as branches, so that we kind of like analyze, this is this, and this is the practice, that we don't mix the whole things, because then if we don't have the time, then it just becomes anything. So
Well, I
basically
think
we need time. Yeah.
time, and because it's extra effort that we make, it's beyond how we do in this frame. So that's already something that has to be compensated. I don't know if that's the right word, but you know.
Yeah.
By the way, like for another application, I mean that's the new now thing. We had to send images, so I was looking at the one from Node and like the chat, like how we did like this, but in the Mozilla Hubs, because I think image-wise it's really interesting.
Yeah, I like it in the image. That's true. Yeah.
I was like, struggling because there's so many moments that you are like expressing with gestures, and I never do it. And I was like, okay, I just find like how I look is like really shit in the screenshots. I mean, whatever screenshot I take, there's nothing that I'm like explaining like with the hands that looks like I'm I don't know, Steve Jobs or whatever. I don't know Steve Jobs does
Yeah, it's true.
gestures.
Like, but it's true. Like when you speak, I don't see your hands almost.
Yeah,
But
maybe it's also
also
because
our
of the
shots are
chat.
different.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
also our shots are different. Like, yeah, my shot is already. Yeah, I'm sitting. Are you sitting or are you standing?
I'm standing.
Yeah, normally when we talk, you're standing.
Always I'm
So
standing.
yeah, no, I'm sitting. I'm sitting here.
Yeah. Well, if I'm
Yeah, no, I mean, like,
standing,
I think it's very cool, like, to have to ask, or people who can give comments to what we do. Like, I'm all about to have more visibility, like, not these days. I'm all about to hear from people what they have to say. But what is also it's kind of clear for me is like that the process is um that that we need to find time. Basically, we need to find time. If we have time, basically, so we need to find money because we need to find time. And if we have time, then we can work this in different, like, in set of things that might become more clear for other people.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I think so. And Yeah, but I think it's, yeah, if we want visibility, or like if we want people to like not understand, but like give more clues to get into what we are doing, let's say, then we need to work on, like, not, we don't have to define words, but we really have to be how to say, take, yeah, we just have to take time to explain every single thing we do. Otherwise people have no clue
Yeah.
that what
Yeah,
this
I mean,
practice is.
but I think I think because I think there are two different things. Like one is like when we do the chat, and in the chat we're trying to do this ontological process, basically. But then in the practice itself, the practice, I think the practice is as it is. I don't
No, no,
think
I'm
like
not, sorry, I'm not saying about the practice, but I'm saying like how we perceive practice in the chat. But this is already because it's easy for us because we are in the practice, so we share
yeah,
something there. But those elements, these small elements, we have to also explain. For example, this word practice, like I was really interested. I just accidentally like searched for something like that was not supposed to be searched. Like you have something in a clipboard, like you copied something, and if you think you copied something but you didn't, and you pasted and searched, but that was from the old text I copied, and
yeah,
that just like showed something random. And there was this best practices in coding, let's say, like it was like our programming language, it's for statistics and stuff. And I just looked at it because it was just caught my eyes because it says best practices in R. So I was like, okay, what's the best? Just show me the best practice. And like it had these headlines, and they describe in detail. But this one was really clear. I can go back to it to see what they said. Okay, the first one.
which one?
Um, did I send you the link?
You sent
The
me the link. Yeah, I saw it.
Yeah, and they are like, so since then I just searched for several best practices. And okay, the first one, do you have this pad open?
I see. Yeah, I see the
Yeah.
pad.
And the first
I see
link
it.
is the best
It's
practices
writing
for
our
writing
code.
R code. And
Uh-huh.
they have this like headings, like keep track of who wrote your code and its intended purpose. So like really clear. Like you just have to leave comments in the code to make it clear, or
Yeah,
be
yeah,
explicit
yeah,
about
yeah.
the requirements and dependencies of your code. That's
Mhm.
really clear. So like this was really clear, but it's so concrete practice. Um, then I searched for other things. Then the second one was eight best practices in business management, and this one was, I feel this is more like the best practices I expected. The first heading is engage workers. Engage workers. Like, what does it mean? And reward effort, be vulnerable, stay committed, seek clarity. Like these are so abstract. Well, they of course they elaborate a little bit more in one or two paragraphs after that, but it's just so,
I like this. This is very. I like. This is very funny. Yeah, this is very funny.
yeah.
I like. This is very. This is very funny.
And yeah, like in this like R or like technical like programming language stuff, they really give clear headline. Like the heading itself like actually explains a lot, and you don't even have to go to the paragraphs. But this business management, or this I don't know, best practices for Instagram ads, choose posts that capture attention. Like this doesn't tell anything about it. Write captions that inspire action. Get better with every ad. Like just like it's just like total crap. So
Mm.
this made me think, like, this word itself, best practices itself, is really hard. Like it's sometimes so concrete as like more like instruction than it's not like practice, but it's something like you can just instruct it to do and you can do it. But then sometimes it's so abstract that you have to really master it. It's not something you are told to do, but you actually practice to have this practice. And it's so funny,
Mm.
this spectrum of this word practice has, because it's so um, pragmatic on one hand, but it's on the
Yeah.
other hand, it's about the mastery, and it's something you cannot explain, or it's sometimes it's just like total crap. But yeah, like, and this also, this already, like, as a starting point, it's hard for people to understand. If we say best practices, what is it? Are we talking about the business management kind of best practices, or like writing code kind of best practices, or something else? And I think we keep it actually kind of blurry, right?
No, because it's best practices in contemporary dance.
Yeah.
So in that sense, are best practices in contemporary dance from the point of view of what is I actually then I will say then contemporary the contemporary in that sense is not there. But if I will read it like best practices in dance, then I will think that is about best practices in dance or in choreography. That's what I
And
mean. The fact that in the title is best practice in contemporary dance. The contemporary dance in a way is a way to say new dance or post dance or like the state of the art of dance, which is very elitist. And now I'm kind of having problem with this right now, but that's more personal. But in a way, for me, gives the sense of this speaks about the best practices in dance 2.0 post dance of this kind of
is
dance.
it, but what is the kind of practice? Is it something that, for example, like I was actually thinking about, like, what if we write something like article like that I just showed you, but it's actually best practices in contemporary dance? Is it something, the kind of thing that we say, use Live Lab and Hydra, something like that, that's so concrete that you can
That's I mean,
use, which
yeah,
has nothing to do with contemporary dance in a way. But
yeah,
but then, or do we have to say that keep engaged? It's like so random that, okay, we don't have to say it. Even
no,
it's something that it's actually a practice that we have to do to get how to get engaged or whatever. Yeah, let's say
mm,
keep being engaged with your partner or whatever. That's so.
but yeah, I think that's a nice idea because I mean, as long as I think one hand we don't want to compromise ourselves. That's one thing. In the sense that we don't want to speak about the truth. So then that's to say, like, if you will take it serious, then it's just not working. Like, but then in a way, it's like if it's just something that if the writing is just something that is agency in itself, then it's aligned with the practice. And then that's not compromising. That's just something that it passed through the truth or the false or both, and then just and still we can say things so we can say like use Hydra, use Live Lab, and do as an exercise the writing from our perspective without compromising.
What do you mean by
That's how I
compromising?
think. Compromising is like without searching or assuming that we are speaking from the truth.
Okay, so
Like how to say, like, I mean, how to say, like, this is I think it's an exercise that in PAF they do very often. The way how they write is in a way is like write from poetics. Like then it's just how to make from the text something that is poetic. So then if it's just giving a space for interpretation. Yes, it's like giving a space for interpretation, something that
I
is
see.
is blurry enough yet clear for the people to read and give so instead of like bringing to yes or no, so instead of compromising, giving agency for the people to expand and then just do their own connections.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
That's what I mean with not compromising with the truth.
Okay, okay, okay. Yeah, I think that's cool. The only thing I like when I thought about, okay, maybe it's fun to write an article like that, like not too long, but with some bullet points that says, do this, and then I explain something like that. The only thing is, it's hard to, like you just said, um, not giving the room to understand, like up to the readers, but still, I will be really, um, I will be biased by what I write.
Yeah,
Um,
but that's something that I mean, that I think, sorry if I interrupt you, but
yeah,
like, I think
yeah,
in my
that,
head is
that's
clear. So the way how my head is clear is in the sense like the practice in the is the same. If you watch this, or for the one who watched, this is exactly the same what I speak about melting pot. And the melting pot is a political space. When Marco writes, or like put it like, it's this analogy with what we do, like what we do, this that we are doing, this is political. We cannot avoid being political. We are being really polite because we are in a space. You live in Germany, I live in Brussels. I learned to live here. I learn in a way to behave. Um, yes, to make it short there. But that's to say that if we are right in the practice, is fine, because I mean, we don't stay there. I mean, it just passes by and it's fine, as we said. But about writing, that's what I think it works, the exercise with Johanna, because my identity was there, I did not hijack the thing, but it passes through. So I cannot avoid being biased. If I will avoid being biased, I will be wrong to myself, and I will be wrong to myself in other sort of application, or in other things that I perform every day in Brussels, but not in the practice. That's the way how I see it.
yeah, that's totally. I agree. The intention. My intention was not the writing itself is biased, but I will be biased in the future practices because of the writing. The writing will, but that's something
But that's
I have
cool.
to.
But then it's cool because I mean that's all about the speculative design, and then it's fine because but there's the space that we share is speculative, and
Sure.
this is all about actually what the art is very nowadays is about speculative. The world is super speculative these days, more than ever since the corona. So go for, I mean, like, if the future comes, if the past come in the future, all these things in between, they're all fine because they're speculative. That it is fine, then it's just you with you, and then it's fine. But I think it's an interesting like exercise. Like I really like the business practices. I think they're
Business
they're
management.
amazing.
Yeah. Also,
I
there's
think they're
10
amazing.
best practices of highly effective teachers. Anyways, I just wanted to read it because it was funny.
They're very nice.
Pro-
This is a
provide
very nice. It is a very nice document.
provide frequent and
Maybe
timely feedback. Value
this is
parental
amazing.
familial involvement. Sidestep the
This is
comfort
amazing.
zone. Anyways,
I really like this.
yeah, like it's so interesting to just to see how
Yeah, yeah,
people
yeah,
think
yeah,
about practice. And okay, then
yeah,
I think it's nice also if we write about these best practices, it will be like, because it's not the best practices, but it's the best practices at this point. And it's like just to think about archiving, and also like, yeah, just leaving artifacts. I think it's a good way to just have a snapshot of what we think now, and
yeah,
a month later, 6 months later, a year later, like we'll just visit and, oh wow, like that's what we were thinking back then. Like this is total like nonsense. It's best practice, and just keep doing
yeah,
this
yeah,
practicing.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Also the practicing of leading the practices.
Yeah.
Yeah, I will find time to do it. I mean, we don't have to do it together. I mean, I think that's also
But
the thing that we can think about. We can do it individually, or we can do it like together. This format is also can be fluid.
but then I think no, I think it's a good exercise, but I think that we should do it together in the sense of, because then wait, what I'm trying to say is that one thing, yeah. So one thing is, I think we should link to the YouTube this list that you made in the path, like this the practice list. I think is interesting. I think it's interesting. This like, because then you're sharing information with people. I don't know why. That's the way we
Well,
answer you.
I think I'm clear about this. Like why? Because it's clear reference. It's nothing to
Yeah,
do
yeah,
with
yeah.
what we do, but it's a reference, and that's also when you think about how people write to their readers, or how people frame the best practices, is something that we can learn, which we don't have necessarily have to use, but we can always refer to that we are writing the best practices because other people do this way or that way, but we do it in other way. But it's also always good to see what's
A
the
reference.
best practices of writing best practices.
Yes, yes, I see what I mean. So then, wait, I was saying that, and then let's see. Um, yeah, wait. Yeah. So then, in concrete about the writing, then w- we can write like, but so you would like to write about the best practices in itself, like just like the best practices. I mean, write something and then I just start writing there. I don't know how
Yeah,
you wanted to put something, and then I if yeah, just
yeah.
write something, and yeah, we'll
Or
see.
we can post a link to the on the YouTube, and people can write about their best practices.
That would be fun. I have a friend of mine. Well, somebody who's a friend, like Facebook friend, somebody who's always comes. I don't know what is her practice actually, but she's the person who sometimes comes. We have this, like, I don't know, like groups of like dancers in Belgium or in Brussels, these groups, and then that's the person who sometimes who is like, "Hey, people, I just wanted to know what is I don't know who is living from dance." Or how what is your practices these days, and then people start just like putting super long messages, super personal, super short, like there's so many different answers of people engaging in the group. And then she just from time and oh, but always she takes the time to answer one to one, super short, like, like say, for instance, at some point she was saying like, "Hey, I would like to know some people in Brussels of dancers or something." I don't know exactly what was it, but then people put a lot of things about themselves, like, who are you, what is your practice, and then some people will be more mystic, like, I don't know, this is Jam Mertens, and then I work with the shadows of the soul or something, like something very abstract and short. And then she will answer like, "Yeah, but what do you mean with that?" Like, she would not let them go with just that, and it was up to the person to just drop it or just being very specific about it. Yeah, it just make me think on that. She was doing that. She was and always she was taking the time, and she got a lot of answers, to be honest. Like, for such a question, like, she got a lot of questions, a lot of answers. Because even I remember I said something short, and then I put my portfolio, and then she wrote something, and basically I end up answer her as well, like, but I copy paste the first paragraph of my bio, but I answer her back.
Hmm.
And she got this from many people.
I see. Yeah, I like
Mhm.
when someone really takes time to answer, not just saying, thank you, or it's good, or is it this generic copy and paste,
No.
but it's something that replies to you. That's something I always try to do as well. But that
Yeah.
really made me think of the podcast that so you shared Martin's podcast before, and
Mm.
with me, and also with Joanna. And Joanna was saying something about the other podcast that, you know, on SoundCloud it just suggests the next one and next one.
Yes. Did
Did
you
you
watch
listen?
the other one?
Yes, I listened to a few
Like,
episodes,
mm.
and I have to say that itself was not particularly interesting for me. Like, it's about the dance, who's, you know, giving like dance training, giving workshops, and but they
Yeah.
take, you know, like 1 hour to talk about like why they started dancing and why they started to teach, and, you know, what is dance for them. Like, it goes really like from like, you know, from the birth to where they traveled and how they end up as a dance training teacher. And that I found it's really interesting that maybe the individual stories are not something that you can learn from, or maybe you can learn from something, those episodes, but also like she's giving this space to for people to share their experiences with such a long, you know, like 1 hour podcast. It's quite long. Well, not for a podcast, but, you know, it's a long time to explain yourself, right?
Yeah.
Or your background and your philosophy or whatever. And that I found it's really cool idea that she made that space, because that's where, you know, it's ground where things can happen, or you might
Yeah.
say potentiality, or giving agency.
Yeah.
And that's what I found in that Facebook friend you said about, because they do the same thing basically, that
Yeah.
it's
That's
not about these individual answers, but it's about the space that
no.
they create.
That's yeah. That's about. I mean, I have been searching a bit about the term, but that's about ecology. That in a way, like people will call it that's ecology because that deals with like art and culture are different things. Like culture refers to economy and capitalism. Like culture is a system with is culture must be effective, right? Like art
Efficiency.
in the pure sense, art is liberal. Art is forming itself and so on and so on. Like in its true nature, art is just agency, art is just potentiality and so on. But culture is one-sided always, and it goes towards best practices actually. Like in the true nature, like art, it can be a best practice because it's just something that it is. It's just potentiality in itself. So in yeah, this that you're mentioning is like what people will call now, or in English they use this word ecology. That's about ecology, and it goes very in line to what speculative realism in philosophy speaks about, because it focuses in the object, understood the object as something that is not me. Say
Okay.
in space, say for instance, not necessarily to the object as my phone and other object, but something, anything that is not me. So speculative realism has deal with a lot with what is not me and give it agency to what is not me, whatever is that, and then is speculative in that terrain. So it proposes ecology in that sense.
You see, and I was like also connecting this idea to, for example, like Olivia made Hydra, and that's also like very different but similar thing, that where people can visit and do something or share something, but
Yeah,
it's in a very very different way, because she made let's say software. I mean, it's running on her server, and not necessarily she's facilitating. I mean, she does meetups once in a while, but yeah, like these different ideas. Because this particular example of Hydra, like more than a year ago, like when I started studying, I had this conversation with one of the professors. He said, like, if you want to do net art, you should make a platform, because
mm,
that's where things happen. And it's, well, my understanding is that when you make a platform, it can live by itself, that makes that its ecology, and it just keeps running without you being there, without you producing things, which is really cool. And I think that's now, I mean, back then I understood why it's really nice, but also now I see, especially because I was involved in like communities and stuff. By the way, I'm moving my hands, but I just don't show it. It's not really obvious.
Now we
so,
can see, now we can see your hand.
So the platform is there, and then but the platform, at first I was thinking about more like a rigid, let's say like software that runs on the server. But when I started working with communities, it's also like how best practices started was that, like we just started meeting on, I just posted on Facebook, and we just started meeting every week. And that itself is also an ecology. So it's actually nothing new to us. We are actually doing it already, and how it's, involved Node as well. So this may be something also we can, spotlight a little bit, and just share how it's happening, why we are doing, because we always go to the best practice aspect, but it's not about meetup aspect that we had initially.
No.
Anyways, just random thoughts, but I think because it's nice that there are so many things that we can explain, we can talk about, and
but something that I think I would like to maybe because I like communities and gatherings are not the same, like communities in a way, like in community I would say like when we how to say, like try to explain myself simple. In a community is like in a community, in the true sense of the community, like a person can be sacrificed for the good of the community. Like a community is a beautiful thing because it allows you to have identity. Like there's so many beautiful things that a community can provide for you, but at the same time it comes from a price. Like corruption comes with from community also, and all these things, because communities are stable. Communities can offer you material things because they are sustainable. They maintain at the same time the same place. Like they can sustain you and give you aim, like material things that can only a community offer you. But at the same time, you lose part of your identity, not part of you individuality, because you are part of the common. As an individual, you agree with things upon they are, otherwise you wouldn't be in the community. Rather, a gathering is something that it just happens and dissolves. Like a gathering is something that by the nature of a gathering, it's unstable. Gatherings are unstable. Gatherings might offer you one night, like it's a rave party, a gathering. It might happen because of friends, they have the phone of a DJ and they have speakers, maybe a good projector. Maybe 2 months after they try to do it, nobody has nothing. At the end, maybe just a small speaker, but still people come around. So gatherings are unstable, but in that sense, like individuals are more have more agency of being, because there's so many more that are very unstable. In that sense, are close to what is, going back to the discourse, like what is dance or what is pure or liberal art in the sense of form or blob. Like communities are more rounded and are more stable. Like gatherings are more blobby, and they just dissolve and come back, and you don't know you cannot trust them. But that's part of the beautiful thing of the thing, and as the bad thing also, because you can, if you need to trust, then I mean, then it's not the place for you. It's not the place. That's not to say the one thing is better than the other one. It's just like it's up to you. What are you going for? Are you, because you might need to be in a community for some reason, personal reason, but you might want it to be more just in gatherings, and it's more that depends of, that's an individual choice. So that's to say that I'm more, I think it's more close to the practice, something that is more gatherings. That doesn't mean that the time is cannot be the same, but just like just just as much as possible. Yeah, I don't know, but without making more complicated this. Just I think as much as
Yeah, but
possible. Yeah, the yes, yes.
yeah, I mean, I totally get your point, but at the same time, I think that there's should be things in between gatherings and communities, and that's I think that's something like partly I was trying to think about last year, and maybe I'm exhausted to pursue on that anymore. So I'm not doing any community stuff, but that's
Community, community.
because that's something people really try to separate and think about. This is
Yeah.
community. This is more like informal gathering, whatever. But
Mm.
like I still see that I would say that the let's say the choreographic coding online was more like a community because it was involving a subset of a community, let's say, um, even though it was like just two of us or like maybe one or two guests there, but it was because I was not targeting like specific person to join, but it's more like talking to the mass. But at the same time, like
Yeah.
I was thinking about like potentially doing something that is really fluid, that yeah, like it's like maybe a small community or big gathering or whatever that is
Yeah, 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 yeah.
fluid and but still not
But
we can be individual in a way. And
yeah, but this is etymology. I mean, this is etymology that we are speaking right now. This like distraction. This is a sophist of distraction that we're having basically, because then then it's just etymology. Like what is the word that we find that defines not community and not gathering? What is the word that we? And in a way, I'm referring this to what your teacher was saying to you in order to build up concept or to think together, then you need to make compromises, like what is the word, what is what we're doing. It is either, so what is, like, for it, just as an example, doesn't mean that we have to define this right now, but this is just it because it just at this point, for instance, it means that we have to stop because I don't agree with you, you don't agree with me. So and then that's it, and this is just an etymological thing, like how are we defining this? Maybe we don't have to define it.
yeah,
And this is going back to this, and this is going back to the truth, like, do we have to define that?
exactly.
I
And
don't
I
know
think
that. Yeah.
my response would be that, like just you said, we don't have to define it. We can leave it as a question. And it's important that we leave it as a question because otherwise people will judge if it's, let's say, the gathering or a community. Like we write about, always write that before the best practices, we do this weekly meetup, and that's how we met because that's so important for me. But it may not be enough information for people because that looks like, okay, maybe they know each other already and then started meeting at a, let's say, gathering, um, or maybe they think a different way. But maybe like if we have enough words to explain in that proposal or article or whatever, then maybe it's a good idea to just give some space to talk about how we met, and it's not something that is categorizable in a
I think so. I think something that my work we don't want to is like, this is coming back to Joanna. Is like, because basically what you're speaking, and I agree with you, is like we don't want to compromise ourselves, like, in that sense. So and then in that context, I think will be, and that's part of the poetics, how you write, is then we can use words that are coming from other languages, for instance, symbols. This is an etymological process. So we might like that's what I mean. We don't have to be so serious all the time, like, because that might compromise us. But then, like, for instance, words coming from other languages, they might just do a solution. Like, for instance, what we're doing is, I don't know, una reunión in Spanish llaman. It's an Spanish thing. So it's just an example. But this is, and that was interesting from Joanna's approach, because that flattens the tension of the semiotic, the charge of the word. Yeah, I agree with you. So one way could be like, you can use symbols from other cultures, like if you want to use symbols from Japanese, or doesn't have to be even letters. I mean, this is etymological concern when we don't want to be compromised, basically.
Yeah, yeah. I think that's really really nice. I was thinking we should make a best practices encyclopedia, but maybe it's more like a dictionary, not a dictionary. Anyways,
But no, but that was interesting. Like Joanna at some point she was proposing to do that, and I think that will be interesting. Like then, like for instance, if you check, like I think in PUF at least there should be three of those dictionaries. Like basically, it's just art pieces that people write for. One of those is Jan itself. I will give you some of those because I have it with me here. One of those is like Jan's work for 15 years. He worked together with different people. One of those, Martin, Xavier Leroy, Jonathan Borrows, and other people. And basically, the theater piece at the end becomes a book that is called Agora. And Agora, I think at some point I read you one. You remember
the
one time
practice.
we have a chat? Yes, and it was practice. That comes from Jan Agora's book. And that was his work for more than 15 years, which was basically a dictionary. Yes. Yeah. And I think that makes sense for us, like to start writing. Maybe it could be something like that. We can start just writing a dictionary, like what is this word, and then just things will come up.
Yeah, and I think it's nice if it's keep changing.
Yeah. Okay. I don't know. I think. Do you want to say something else?
No, I
Maybe.
think it's good. We
I
can
think it's.
finish here and
I think it's enough. We spoke a lot. There's a
because
lot.
it's
We
been some
spoke a
time,
lot.
like it's more than a week since we talked last time, right?
Yeah, but
I
we
mean,
talk a lot of different really interesting things. Like there's so
yeah,
many things that we spoke about,
yeah,
like very practical things.
yeah, because well, practical to conceptual. Because I think because you were working on a project and I was well not doing, but maybe the seminars or I mean we had time between the last one and this chat, so we of course we had some ideas coming up, and it's good that we talk like this.
Something we have to do is like find the time for. I don't think this week because I need to rest still.
Yeah.
I feel my body like
Should we switch to the
tired.
backstage now?
Yeah. Sorry, we
Okay.
still are here. Okay. All right.
Thank you
Thank
for
you guys for
watching.
watching.